Hey guys, Trevor Holt here. I'm here with Sam. How you going, Sam?
Always well, Trevor. How are you, mate?
Good,
Good to
thanks.
see you.
Good, thanks. Thanks for connecting. Your connection skills are very good and persistent. We've just been over the last few months been looking at creating better impacts or having better positive impacts on people's lives and what we can do to solve that. So we just want to do a bit of a summary on where we're at with that. But before we get going, just a bit of a declaration, I suppose, that this session's being recorded and it will be published on the YouTube channel or whatever, on LinkedIn or whatever, just to create some awareness of what we're up to. So we've got a bit of a basic slides, presentation slides here. I'll just let you introduce the program, Sam.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Trev. Thanks for another session. It's good to sort of get things moving with this. And I guess the project, the Impact TS project, as you can see there, imagine more positive action considered and taken, transforming society. So we started this far out back in July, I believe it was, trying to make that positive change and impact on society, focusing on the cost of living, stresses within people's lives, and creating an actual action plan towards how people can either get out of a crisis or so that they don't go into crisis, basically. But I guess the biggest point is actually giving people the resources and an action plan to go forward instead of just words or something like that. So that's where it's all started. And, we've had quite a few chats now, haven't we?
Yeah. So we've touched base a few, and from the very beginning, we selected cost of living as something that we were going to focus on. So we come up with these four main elements of that's right. We merged a couple of them together because lack of income and cost of living we sort of tackled together, didn't we? So
yeah, that's right.
We come up with these four categories, I suppose. Did you want to talk through the categories a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I guess where we sort of came to was an understanding of the different elements to the crisis or living in general, and helping people understand how to generate more income. There's lots of avenues that some people might not know about, whether they do and just don't know how to do it. Reduce spending, or even looking at your bills and everything that you've got now, even your education, any certificates, anything that you want to do, and basically any way to develop yourself personally or professionally, and using the tools around you, whether it's even your network, and finding out a way to build your network bigger and better so that you can increase your longevity, your livelihood, whether you run a business or not, or you work as an employee, getting more personal development or professional development within your industry as well, so that you can move up the ladder if that's what you're trying to achieve. So there's lots of opportunities out there. I think one of the biggest things that people struggle when they're stressed or when they're going into these crisis modes is they miss or can't see opportunities because they're within their box and they're living a life of stress or whatever it might be. So I guess where we're coming from is an outsider's perspective and going, well, what are all the different ways that people can actually help elevate themselves or their lives? And that these 4 points are, we believe, that cover the cost of living crisis and people that might be struggling to get out or onto the next path.
Yeah, and that's right. I suppose in relation to this specific lack of income and cash flow of cost of living, we spoke about it in general, and you just touched on it then. I suppose there's different elements. If depends on whether you're in a crisis mode now, literally unemployed, lost your house or whatever, or relationship breakup or whatever, created a problem, I suppose, in your current circumstance. And then there's the other element, isn't there? Is when life is cruisy and you've got your good job and your stable income and your stable accommodation and everything's going smoothly, and trying to use that environment to be able to enable you to make strategic decisions to, overcome some challenges should they arise in the future, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about being proactive rather than reactive. Don't wait until you're in crisis. So you even briefly touched on relationships, right?
Yeah.
Don't wait until your relationship is in crisis to start taking your partner on dates or doing all that sort of stuff. Do it while things are good. Work on things while things are good, so that when those bad times come, you're ready, you're prepared. Yeah, it's the same with business. It's the same with friendships. It's the same with money. It's the same with anything. You have to be prepared for crisis, but you should be doing things that you would do while you're in crisis, while you're not in crisis, and being proactive rather than reactive, and just getting ready and enjoying it. And I guess the other term is get comfortable with being uncomfortable, or don't allow yourself to become too comfortable, because that's where people start to miss out, or opportunities are lost. There's a good saying by Tony Robbins, where he goes on to speak about the difference and the effects of strong people or strong times, weak people, and bad times. And that it's very true. There's a lot of different ways that we can look at this, and I think these 4 aspects are very important, especially to the Australian market, but all around the world. In the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I think the big word that comes to mind when you say it, and that's what you said is true. But complacency, isn't it? If you don't be complacent, or don't take things for granted, is it? I think to move a bit further. So so we split them up. We split these up into you were going to do reduce spending and inner self-development, and I was just going to have a quick talk about generate more income. So we've got this slide here. So the main one for me, I suppose, and I haven't really put it in the order, but we'll just go through it, I suppose. Create a positive money mindset. To me, that's about understanding. That's about understanding that money is important, and whilst in this land where we try not to, we try to put everything or minimize the effects of money, but money is important, and having enough money to be able to create a joyous life is important. And a lot of people, money doesn't buy you happiness, or but at the end of the day, in a modern society, we need money, and we need to be making decisions to get us money, cash. So trying to move away from that utopia type world where money doesn't matter. It's not true. Money does matter. You have to pay your bills, and you have to pay your rent, or you have to, you need money in everyday life. So creating.
That's right. I think that's where you're right. That money mindset, it's switching that trigger, or that understanding of money or wealth per se. I mean, most people go, your money is wealth, or your network is wealth, or your relationships, or whatever it is. But you don't, whether you're striving for millions or you're striving to be comfortable and just go on holidays, everyone's different. But it's about creating, as you said, just making sure your bills are paid, and then going from there. There's a lot of different categories and a lot of different people in the world that, at different tiers. But if you can't create that positive money mindset, then you're going to struggle in every realm, basically.
And I like that word positive too, because like you said, you touched on it then, you can get bogged down with, he's richer than me, or he's got a flasher car or a flasher house, and competing with Joe Blow or something on their timeline or whatever. But a positive money mindset is not making comparisons to other people. It's just looking at your position and what you're able to achieve at any given time in your life. And I feel that's important, because a negative money mindset would be, I need to make this, or I need to do this, or I need to get this car and get into more debt to get a faster car that I can't afford, just to try and keep up with the Jones for no real reason, So I feel that word positive is very important.
Yeah, I think that's so right. I mean, you can't compare yourself to anyone. I think people who, again, you look at people who are wealthy, or even in the gym, for instance, anyone who's at that level, They don't look down on people. They actually congratulate or anyone, looking up. But this is where my motto comes in quite heavily. Something that I came up with 2-3 years ago. And I use it on my LinkedIn page. If anyone has a look at it, is outperform yesterday, because the only person that we need to strive to be better than, or, work harder than, is yesterday's self. Yeah. Really, we shouldn't be focusing on anything else besides how we can be better than yesterday.
Yeah, and that's a really good one. I like that. Yeah, I like that. So the other thing I got there is we touched on it in our introduction, is avoid complacency. So the theory is with that is I think I talked to you about. I don't know whether you read it, but last time I spoke about the most influential book in my entrepreneuring life. Has been Who Moved My Cheese, and it's just a little kid's story. And basically, if anyone hasn't read it, it's probably, it's only probably a 5-minute read. It's not that much, but it's just about two little people about the size of mice, and two mice in a maze. And the humans found their cheese, and then they decided to build a house next to their cheese, so they didn't have to walk so far to get it. And they got really complacent and really lazy, and built their whole life around that cheese. And then suddenly the cheese was gone. And when it happened to the mice, they just instinctively just went and looked for more cheese. But the humans were there. Oh, but this is so unfair. We built our house here, and we done this and we done that, and we really earned that cheese, and now it's not there. Getting all sad and upset about it. But the mice just went on, but within a day they found some other cheese over there. But meanwhile, the humans are jumping up and down, getting upset about the situation that they found themselves in. So that was a big incentive for me in my contracting life, is just to try and find or trying to live like you've got no security, especially financial security. So just live, try and work out that tomorrow you mightn't have a contract, or tomorrow things might change, and what are you going to do when that happens? So that was the complacency that I had here. I don't know if you have any stories about that in the income generation thing, Sammy?
Oh, look, probably not to this topic as relevant as what yours is. But yeah, definitely in terms of general life, or not so much relationships, but yeah, I think the complacency is everywhere. Yeah. I think if you have something, and this is where the saying you don't really know what you've got until it's gone comes from. Yeah. And this is where that complacency mindset, I guess, comes in. Yeah. Understanding what you've got when you've got it, so then you can work on keeping it while it's good, so that you don't have to worry about bad times, or you can get through the bad times easier. Yeah. It all comes roundabouts and circles regarding positivity and complacency. And, if we focus on problems, more problems are going to arise, right? If you focus on positivity and the good stuff and moving forward, you're going to keep moving forward. But again, the more good things that come into your life at the same time, you've got to expect troubling times or hard times to come. If you expect that, then you're ready for it. Yeah. If you just think life is easy and hunky-dory, I mean, you're going to get hit, and that's complacency, right? Yeah. So there's lots of different ways to look at this, and I guess it's helping people understand the flow chart, or the understanding of complacency, positivity, and moving forward I guess in this case, income, rather than just your personal self or your relationships. Yeah, that's well put. And the next one is quite interesting, because it was a misinterpretation from me, thinking back, working in throughout COVID, contracting in the COVID years. It was a very weird experience I was still doing design back then. And I had a few design contracts, and I seen on the floor, on a wall of one of the places I was doing some design work at. It was actually up near Warwick there, and it was a chart, and it had about fluid thinking and fluidity, I think the word was, but it was more about money in general, and I since learned that it was more about taking the assets and turning it into cash is what the poster was sort of leaning towards. But I interpreted it as being fluid, as in
taking whatever opportunity presents itself and not being too tied down in your thinking with what you're doing now. So if an opportunity comes, being able, fluids like water, and it can go anywhere. So being able to jump on opportunities as they arrive was my interpretation of fluid thinking. So that's how I interpret it, which I felt was very relevant in the COVID years, because most people anyway had to change paths or look at different options or change what they were doing based on the mandates or whatever else throughout that period. But one of the things, I had a business partner. I've had a few over the years, but I had a business partner, and he used to talk about a river, and he was had a different way of thinking than me, and different people do have different ways of thinking. But he imagined the world as a river, and he's on one side of the river, and the goal was to get to the other side, and he had a point where he wanted to get to on the other side of the bank on the river, and he wanted to specifically get into a rowboat and row in a straight line to get to his goal. That was his thing. Whereas I didn't care if I had to walk 20 k's up here and jump on a log or whatever, or pass through here or whatever it was. I didn't care how I got to where I was going, and that sort of created more opportunities. So he was looking at opportunities very specifically to get from here to here, and that created limitations and slowed down his progress. Whereas if you're looking outside the scope and following opportunities, as opposed to trying to get opportunities at a certain path, but following them, as long as if they align with your values, then I feel that's probably good. So different ways of thinking, I suppose, in there. But fluid thinking for me in relation to generating more income is being able to follow whatever opportunity comes your way.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's that, obviously not putting all your eggs in one basket, or but then to the other side is that bright shiny object syndrome, right? So you've got to be careful about your opportunities, but you have to be aware of the opportunities and understand if they're on the path that you're going. Yeah. And as you said, the values, if they align with your values and where you want to go, or aligned with your end result or end sort of target goal for your life. If they don't align, then don't chase it. But if they do, then have a look at that path. Yeah.
And that next one, diversify your income streams. That's a bit more relevant to all the eggs in one basket, isn't it? I suppose. How would you go about diversifying your income stream, Sammy?
Well, look, I mean, you've obviously got your main source of income, then you've got your investments or assets, for lack of a better word. I guess these days, many people talk about online businesses or all those sorts of things. So, I mean, there's multiple ways that you can have diversified income, whether you've got a side hustle, whether you've got an income in a business, a website, product that you sell on the weekends. So there's lots of different ways. I guess obviously you've got that investment, and there's, again, lots of different ways to invest, whether it's in the stock market or in housing or lucrative products. There's lots of different ways that you can diversify your income. It's just understanding what you're going to do, and having I guess someone in your corner to help you and guide you in that way. I think we've spoken about it plenty of times. You go through school and you have all these different teachers and everything that help you in different subjects. But when we become adults, very, very rarely do we have people in our corner to help guide us as an adult, or because, I mean, really, you don't get taught everything that you need to know. So as we become adults, we don't have mentors, or we don't have people around. And that's one thing that I'm very passionate about, is helping guide people to the best version of themselves. That's why I sort of diversify in the communication, the sales training, but also that personal development. So you've got to have these understandings of the different ways that your income can be used. And even if you look at someone that I follow quite heavily is Grant Cardone, and talks about using your investment money and the money that comes from your investments to then support buying the cars and the luxury and everything that you want, instead of using your income that you should be using to make your investments or to live that life that you want. I guess it just comes back to that money mindset and understanding how to use your money and what to do with it.
Yeah, I think I think too. It obviously gets easier as you get more income, but regardless of how much income you get, I think it's important to pay yourself first. So if you're earning $100 a week, you should pay yourself in a savings $10 regardless. And if you're earning $1,000, you should be paying yourself $100 a week. And if you put that 10% away in savings, then that gives you opportunity to, like you say, diversify in the share market, crypto coin, or you can play with it. And it doesn't matter if you lose it or not. You can get a bit of an education on it. Obviously, you don't want to lose your money if you can help it, but just trying to explore different avenues. I know some people, for example, just buy toys or collectibles and put them in the cupboard, or when they buy their new shoes, they buy 2 sets of them and put one as a collectible in the cupboard, and then years later they become money or whatever. But there's thousands of different ways of doing it. But I feel you should be paying yourself first at least 10% of your income to go towards that sort of, whether it's memorabilia, or whether it's collectibles, or whether it's investment, whatever the strategy is. I feel that's important. So the next one here is education and qualifications, but that's more about using your education and qualifications to help other people. So you talked before about coaching people. So there's value in helping people out, especially if you, like both of us, are sort of not young chickens, not starting out anymore, but young guys, 17 to 20-year-olds or something like that, or first in the industry, or even some college graduates, in their early 20s or whatever, helping them out. But that creates, and it mightn't be an instant cash result, you mightn't get any money from them, but by helping them out and establishing and helping out other people in your network, and even if they're not younger than you or whatever in your industry, can create better results in the future. Like sometimes I help someone out and they're much better than I'll ever be, but you help them out when they're down, and then they get a management job, or they move up in the world, and suddenly you're working for them, and they're looking after you more than what you could. You know what I mean? So I feel using your education and qualifications or your experience to help other people can be beneficial in the long term for the generating more income.
Yeah, I agree. I guess it's that that karma, the good karma, and that kindness. I mean, I'll give you it's a small example, but it's stuck with me ever since it happened. I went to a network meeting one day, I think it was about 2-3 years ago, and a lady, I believe she ran a massage business or something like that. She'd been around for a little while, and it was something as simple as a Google profile. Google my business profile. She didn't understand it. She didn't have one. So I gave her a bit of advice for free. Stood there, talked to her, connected with her. I haven't spoken to her since, but I did get a message saying thank you, blah, blah, blah. It really helped me out. Now she's on Google. Now she's getting more business. It's those small things. Now, one of my biggest things, my goal every year, it's stepped up since I first met you. When I first met you, I believe it was about 1,000 people a year to impact personally and professionally. So nowadays, my goal is 5,000 people a year.
Yeah.
And that I really ramped that up since we started this project, because the more people that I can help, or we can help understand, your network is technically your net worth, as they say. So my goal every year is to impact 5,000 people. It's a huge number. I mean, 1,000 people a year is 3 people a day.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be a huge monetary help or anything like that. It's that mindset. It's that positivity. It's the business, or just helping someone to make an impact on their life, whether personally or professionally. It's all those little things that help people get through. Because not everyone, you don't know what people are going through. Yeah. So we've got to help. You've got to help people where you can, and it comes back eventually.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it does too. And the last one I got there was just self-advocation. So that one probably should have been first. But the first thing I would do is to talk to your current employer or your current circumstance and try and get more money there. You know what I mean? Before you try and branch out. But also, just if you're confident in yourself and you can self-advocate for yourself, and like you say, improve your communication skills and your social connections, they're the biggest things to creating more income that you can get. And it all comes with confidence and
self-belief. You just have to
self-belief.
believe in yourself.
Yeah. So that was the next thing. So the resources needed, financial planning or, education facilities, and just time to explore alternative opportunities. So I often spend, I don't know, a few hours a day thinking about other things that, I possibly could get up to or what else I can do. So enable yourself that time to reflect, I suppose, is one of the biggest things.
That's
So just
right.
move on to the next one. So this one's yours, Sammy. Do you want to talk through this one?
Look, I think it really speaks for itself. Reducing spending. You need to look at your budget or create a budget if you don't have one, and understanding your ins and outs, your incoming, your outgoing, whether you're in a business or even your personal life. Understand your budget, not overspending, and as you said before, that 10%, budget in that 10% of whatever your income for yourself, and smart shopping. Again, you look at your daily or your weekly or monthly or yearly bills, they're coming. So budget them into your budget and find ways to either make them cheaper or make them more efficient to work for you in your budget. I guess that sort of goes into the energy and utility savings already. There's lots of cashback apps these days. You've got ways to earn money back or earn percentage of cash back through certain apps, and just using deals. There's deals everywhere. And it's about taking that time to research and understand where you can make better decisions while not necessarily getting rid of the things that you want and like in your life. But more so, the more income you earn doesn't necessarily mean that you go and spend more money. I think that's the biggest problem when people then go and earn more money. They go and spend more money. And then they go, well, I'm still struggling. Well, you've just earned an extra, say, $5,000, and you've gone and spent an extra $5,000. If you go and make more money, don't change your lifestyle. Yes, make it better in some degree, but you're making more money now. You should be more comfortable, not the same comfortability. And that's money mindset, and that's being smart about your shopping.
And that's complacency, isn't it? That's that complacency thing. And one of the biggest things with that is, like, there's whole families working on a mine, and they all had their flash, I don't know, what SUV utes or whatever the hell they drive, the Holdens or whatever, and all their jet skis and all their things and this and that, because they've got all the money and they drink so much or whatever. And the whole husband and wife and mother and father and that, we're all on the mine site. So
I'm still here. I'm just being a little bit unprofessional because my laptop's about to die. Just keep talking, mate. I'm still here.
No, that's all right. Yeah. And then they lost the mine contract because the mine collapsed or whatever, and suddenly the whole family was in dire straits, and straight away they were in the paper, requesting help and requiring assistance, but these are the guys that had the lifestyle that was so great for so many years, and they couldn't last a few months, while they got themselves sorted out again.
Yeah, well, that's right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I agree. All right, I'll be back on in 3 seconds. Give me a second. Hold on.
Oh, you're right. Take your time. So I'm just having a look at this one. So you got debt management. So that was a big thing. Save up the things. Like if you borrow money for a car, typically you'll be paying twice as much for that car by the time you pay it off. And by the time that happens, generally the car needs replacing again, and you got to start the cycle again. So if you can just hang off a little bit longer or save up or buy a car that's not as good or something, just to avoid getting into debt, I suppose, is probably a massive undertaking.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on debt management?
Look, for many years, I've not liked the idea of debt, and I don't like debt. I haven't ever really had debt. But obviously then my brother's in the financial department, and I've got a lot of people that are in that space, but I guess it's then understanding negative debt and positive debt, because there is such thing as positive debt, but I don't think a lot of people educate themselves enough.
Yeah, house, for example, would be a positive investment, wouldn't it?
That's right. You know, whether you're investing in a business or a franchise, or, you know, your investment properties, or, you know, those sort of things, you can have positivity out of those debts. But it's it's those car loans, it's those things that are going to not make you money, but they're going to cost you money. Though the loans on those sort of things, this is where if you can get your investments to a point where you're using that money as either a dividend, or you're paying for your cars and your luxuries out of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's talking quite a high level. I mean, you've got to start somewhere. So, I mean, even your 10%, invest in that slightly every month, or taking that money and putting it into somewhere where you can make that percentage on it and make that money and get it working for you, instead of just leaving it in the bank. And I guess that's another thing. If you've got savings, no matter how small or large, make it work for you. Don't just leave it in savings, because it does nothing.
Yeah. And in fact, it does less than nothing, because inflation's about 3%, well, at the moment it's about 7% or something, but typically 3% a year. So $100 loses 3% every year, doesn't it? So it's,
that's right.
So if you left it there for 10 years, then suddenly it's only because everything goes up. So you can't buy as much with your $100 as what you could 10 years ago, you know? So,
correct.
Yeah. And you got here, adapt frugality, is it? Frugality and minimization lifestyle, minimalist.
I guess it comes back to everything that we've already spoken about. You need to be adaptable in your spending and in your budget, and understand, you know, where your minimalistic lifestyle could be, to, you know, obviously still have your, not so much luxuries, but what you like, coffees, or the food shopping and all your bills and utilities. Understand where that lifestyle is and what lifestyle you want to live, so that you know where your budget sits, you know where your shopping goes, and how you can change that and adapt it to when you make more money, that you don't just go and overspend and spend more.
Yeah.
It's just that,
again, you're not spending money. You're not spending money for the sake of it, are you? To impress other people or and this sort of stuff. You're just doing what you need to do to get things going. Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I see here resources needed, budgets and templates. There's all that sort of stuff that you said. You know, partnerships with your local stores and utility companies, financial workshops, and there's a lot of them that are free too. I put a link up there. I don't know if people know, but Lifeline do financial stress and financial support and financial, you know, counselling for people that are struggling financially. So utilising the tools that are around you and understanding, I suppose there's no shame in asking for help. I think as men particularly, I can speak for, but even women go through the same thing as not asking for help because they feel ashamed or we feel I don't know, we don't want to feel, you know, that people might think less of us, I suppose, you know, that we're idiots or something for asking, but it's okay. Everyone goes through struggles and difficulties and everyone does it. But yeah, I think the biggest point I want to pull from this is everyone needs a budget. I think that's what you said. And if you haven't got a budget, then get one.
That's right. And if you don't know how to do a budget, you can either research it, you can use even as simple as Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah.
They have templates there for them. Reach out to us. I mean, we can help do that. I guess this is what the project is all about.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to make yourself a budget and understand your spending.
Okay, so let's have a look at the next one, Sammy. So this one here, increase education, certification, and accreditation. So we've touched on this a little bit. So continuous improvement is something that I'm passionate of, and one of the biggest regrets, I suppose, that I did is I didn't. When I was working in the design industry, I never I got accredited qualifications, I suppose, in the field of work that I work. I worked for 20 years in design, and theoretically, thinking about it now, I probably should have been going through the educational process to get some formal qualifications to that experience that I had, you know, or that I was undertaking. So by doing that, if you got the formal piece, and people say, oh, it's just a piece of paper, and it is just a piece of paper, but at the end of the day, if it creates you more employable or opens more doors for you, then it's probably a good idea. And in today's society, I would say to anybody that education and qualifications, especially nationally accredited ones, can create more doors for you. So it's worthwhile pursuing.
I think people need to, I guess, get comfortable or learn how to enjoy learning.
Yeah.
And be continuously learning and learn every day. And it doesn't have to be huge or another degree or anything. Just learn something to help you, or learn something, like read a book, or, you know, unfortunately, you know, this is one thing that we started talking about when we started the project, is social media and the effects on society, right? And we've sort of led into the cost of living crisis, but it all stems from that. You know, social media has a big impact on people. And yes, you can learn stuff, but I don't really believe that you can. But, you know, unless you're following the right people and following the right, I guess, influencers or business people, for that matter, mentors, coaches, anything like that. But you need to be learning, or you should be learning every single day. I mean, I tell my kids this every single day. I love learning. I'm much the same as you. I never went to uni or anything like that. I've learned life experiences, and I've done courses and everything like that. But it's about continuously learning, finding something new that aligns with your path to learn more, and continuously learn on how to be better in yourself so that you can help other people.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things is, I suppose, and we've touched on it before, is communication, and be able to having conversations with people. It's an art that's lost lately, like you're saying, social media texts and LOLs and whatever on the text messages and this and that. Being able to have a conversation with someone is lost. So, but also too, for me, it was scary, you know, enrolling in, like I've done last 5 years since I turned 40, I've done Cert 4 in mental health, diploma in counselling, and I'm halfway through my, in my final year of my Bachelor of Psychology. But when I started out, I didn't know if I can do it, but you can. If it's something you want to do, and if it's a value you want, but just by doing it and working through the communications of it with other people, and working through the you know, the challenges that you face in doing it, it does create better results for you. And I feel it does create better outcomes. And something I should have been doing. I know I'm starting late in life, and it's easy for me to say, yeah, do this now, but you know, I didn't do it. But I feel focusing on especially communication and social skills, like with AI and all these other things coming into play, and computer technologies doing a lot of the work, people's skills will never be taken over by AI, or will never be taken over by some computer chip, you know. So humans have feelings and this and that, and understanding and providing empathy and assistance on a human level. If you can master some of them skills, I think they're very beneficial in the long run. So, and that's what I got there. Yeah, communication skills and social confidence. But so the other one is, if you're doing something now and you're getting on the job training, and like you said, Sammy, you didn't do it either, but just trying to work out a way to turn that into a recognised qualification or something like that while you're doing it. It's no extra effort. Like my son, he'd done concreting for like 15 years and he never done a trade or whatever, but I kept pushing about the trade. But he got recognition of prior learning, and that ended up with his trade certificate. You know, so he's got a Cert 3 in concreting now, as you know, as if he'd done an apprenticeship. So taking that extra step, it might seem dumb, and that's the story that I get. Oh, it's only a piece of paper. But I think people that are saying that haven't got the piece of paper. I don't think anyone that has the piece of paper is saying, oh, it's just a piece of paper. Yeah, I mean, so I think it's beneficial. It does create, and the idea of this is we're trying to open up doors for people and trying to put them in a situation where they can increase their income potential. And I think education is a big part of that. Despite, you know, despite what people, you know, might say about the construction, oh, you can earn big dollars in the construction, but most of them are electricians. They're qualified, you know, they've done the training as an electrician, or the plumbers, they've done an apprenticeship, 4-year apprenticeship or whatever. So I feel, qualifications and educations do create a big impact. And even if you're not working in that industry, it's worthwhile doing a bit of nighttime or it's called investing in yourself, isn't it? Just trying to spend that time, and we've said it 100 times, continuous improvement, but investing that time in yourself can create better avenues in the future.
Yeah, look, I'll test to that, and I agree. One of the biggest stories that I've got in my life, one of the people who have inspired me the most, and someone that I look up to very, very highly, is my father. So he built an extraordinary business with him and his business partner. Now, talking about education and learning, he didn't go to uni necessarily initially. He went into a sector. He went and had a job and did all this, and then he ended up going to night school or night tape or night college so that he could do engineering, which is what he wanted to do. And then he ended up with him and his business partner building an absolutely phenomenal business that's now set them up, and they built everything that they wanted. But it's that working and then going to that night school and going through that uncomfortable stage in your life to get to the good stuff. And I think terms are thrown around these days about instant gratification and everything like that. You need to do the hard work to have an easy life, because you can't have an easy life without the hard work. Because if you have it easy now, then it's just going to be hard later. If you can go through the hard stuff earlier on, and then you can have it easier later. But yeah, it's about that mindset. Again, it comes back to mindset and the way you operate and the way you learn, and it all sort of comes back into sort of a bit of a triangle, and understanding how your mindset and your money and your education and everything works in your favor.
Yeah, and I think for me too, there's a lot of talk about having to develop a foundation first before you can sort of grow or build whatever. Like a tree develops its roots, and grows, from there. But I think having that solid foundation, and you're working on, your, like you say, the minimum that you need to pay your bills and this and that. Once you've got that under control and you don't have to stress about that, there's a hierarchy of, human needs and that sort of stuff. You get all the essential needs met first, and then you can start look at exploring and developing your relationships and developing your education, this and that. So I suppose it's all about timing as well, isn't it? Don't try and do too much. So if you're not ready to do nighttime school because you've got your kids or you're working, whatever, trying to make ends meet, or you're homeless on the street, then obviously that's not a big priority. So timing, things will happen in your life when they happen. And I think the big message for me is don't be in a rush, because there's plenty of time. People get stressed and anxiety about trying to get things now. I think you mentioned it, here and now, instant glorification. But, it's amazing how much a year can change, or, it's sometimes it just happens like that. And you think, wow, here I am. And
look, I'll put my hand up. I was a culprit for many years.
Yeah.
From about the age of 21, I was like, oh, I don't have time. I need to hurry up and get to my first this, get to my first that. I need to have this by a certain time. I turned 30 this year, and and I was like, crap, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But I'm well ahead of people that didn't start, that didn't try. I've got 4 kids. But I've also had multiple different businesses. I've learned a lot. I've had 3 or 4 different mentors, even at a time. So there's lots of ways that these things can happen, but you have to, as you've said, take that time, take that realization that you do have time. You just need to take those small steps.
Yeah.
And have small wins instead of focusing on the big wins.
Yeah, and that's what I got there. So the resources for this, like if you're exploring hobbies or finding something you like to do, whether it be arts or whatever, or collecting or sports, and just trying to develop them new skills based on stuff that you want to do. Because sometimes a lot of people, a lot of tears have been shed about, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I be. I don't know who I am. A lot of these things is what I'm hearing. So just by exploring these, different hobbies, or exposing yourself and getting out there, because you're not going to find yourself sitting in front of the TV drinking grog, or, or feeling sorry for yourself, is it? So getting out there and finding different things in your areas, or different groups, or different activities, and trying to develop that. And it all, like you say, it all comes back to a whole social thing as well, and a lot of these things. But when it comes to education, and finding out where you fit in life. It's just about trying to find what you're good at or what you like, what you enjoy, and it might take a bit of a journey to find that.
But that's the
taking
pattern.
first steps, yeah.
What you said before is the pattern. People don't know who they are. They don't know where they're going, so they turn to alcohol. They turn to TV, and it's a spiral downhill instead of that hard grind up to go. That's unfortunately the pattern. And I think if people don't have anyone around, or that education, or that life skill, or even that mindset to go, no, I need to go through this now so it's easier later. Because it's easier to turn to TV or just relax or chill or have that. It's hard to go out and grind. It's hard to search and be uncomfortable, because a lot of people don't like the idea of being uncomfortable. One of my coaches, and I work with him almost daily. His biggest thing, when I first met him, he's obviously evolved massively. Now he's 10 years in front of me, but conquering the uncomfortable is his terminology, and I absolutely love it, because you have to. If you can't be comfortable with the uncomfortable, then how are you ever going to move forward?
And it's interesting that, because your brain wants to choose the path of least resistance. That's what your brain wants, because it doesn't want, we're programmed, don't upset people, or don't have a opinion outside the herd, or go this way because that's what you're doing, or don't put yourself out there. That's why people get scared about posting on social media or whatever. But don't draw attention to yourself or whatever. But at the end, like you say, you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and just taking these challenges on, and moving forward. So just go to the next.
Quickly plug something real quick while we're here on this topic. So in terms of not knowing who you are or your direction or anything, I think I've mentioned it to you, Trevor. I've got a traffic light system that basically talks about who you are now, where you've come from, and where you want to go. So that traffic light system is basically designed to help people through that process, and understanding exactly who they are, where they've come from to get them to this point, and where they want to go, and what their goals are, and how to achieve them. So there are ways to do it, and that's a system that I've developed, and I've been developing it for the last 12 months. So that's definitely something that I'm working with people on, and definitely happy to share that as well.
And I had a look at that, and that's very good. I think it's good to understand, like you say, where you come from, and some of the things holding people back is their journey to get there, in trauma-filled stuff. So the biggest saying that I work towards is, live in the here and now, not worry about what's happened in the past, or get over what's happened in the past, and not worry about what's going to happen in the future. Because if you're worrying about the past too much, it leads to depression. If you worry about what might happen, that's anxiety. So living in the here and now is very important, but having that understanding of where you come from, I think, is good too. So back to this one, inner development. This was your last one, Sammy. So you want to talk us through this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think it's all four of the points comes back to looking after yourself first before you sort of take care of everything. But you have to look at life as, I guess, one thing that I was taught early on was that stool analogy, and I write it in one of my books. And if you look at a stool, and if one of those legs are cut off, then obviously the stool, you can't sit on it. It's not going to work. So those four legs, you've got your income or your business, or then you've got your family and relationships, you've got your personal, and then your wealth, all those different aspects to your life. And if one of them's off, it's going to affect the others. And if, again, it's a flow-on effect, and it becomes that chain reaction. Like if your money's off, then your relationships are going to be off, because you don't want to go out. But then that affects your mental health, or your mindset towards your friends, or your friend. You might start to look. It's a big convoluted conversation, and it's probably something that we can touch on another time. But your mental health awareness, it's a big chat these days, and I haven't necessarily delved into it, but it's understanding yourself and understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are, where you're good, where you're not. Your mental health can be affected by your physical health, by your income, by your relationships, and where you are. And it's about delving deeper into that and understanding who you want to be and where you want to go, and not let it, as you said before, not letting those past things create anxiety within you to not move forward. If you focus on the past, you're never going to move forward. But at the same time, if you focus too much on the future, you're not focusing on the here and now. So look,
Yeah.
there is
And that's avoiding your fluidity, isn't it? If you're focused on a specific point right there, I'm going to get there, and this is what I'm focused on. You got little blinkers on in the horsing terms, haven't you? And you focus there, and you might miss other opportunities. Yeah.
Well, exactly. It leads back to what we talked about earlier. You miss your opportunities. So there is a big balance. There is a big balance towards past, present, and future. But you need to focus on now, because that's the only thing that we can control. The only thing that we can control is us, our behavior and our attitude. And happiness is a choice. So many people go through life choosing to be a certain way, but we can't control what anyone else does. We can't control, plans don't often go to plans, for God's sake. You can make a plan and put so much effort into it, but 9 times out of 10 a plan won't go exactly to plan. But then again, you've got people that go, well, things are meant to happen for a reason, or you're meant to be here at this point for a reason. Okay, good. You make a plan, doesn't go to plan. You got to be adaptable, and that's where your mindset, money mindset, instant gratification, all these things come into play. Personal growth is massive. You have to grow yourself personally so that your profession and your relationships grow as well. And that's not just your physical, it's your emotions, it's your mindset, mental health, it's your spiritual, your financial, your communication, it's all of it. So developing yourself so that you can become the best version of yourself. But I do personally think that the physical health and that mindset, that building a strong mindset, are two of the biggest ones that you need to work on. I've taken the last 12 months after quite a big kick in the guts to really develop myself personally more, because I've worked so hard on developing myself professionally, but I left myself out. I was caring too much about everyone else and not about myself. Like I've recently lost more than 20 kilos. I'm now at the weight I was when I was 18. But I feel bigger and better than ever. And I've taken that time to work on my health. I've taken the time to work on my mindset, business and relationships and everything else. So it's now just about pulling them all together, and community building. It comes back to your network being your net worth. You need to have good people around you. Again, we're going to talk about all these sayings. You are the average or the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But again, it comes back to comparing. You should never compare. If you're going to learn from people who are better than you, don't be scared of being in a room with people that are better than you, because you can learn from them. You never want to be the best person or the smartest person in the room. I would much rather be around a group of people that aren't at my level, I'm not at their level, so that I can learn from them. That's where communication comes in. That's where constructive conversations come in. Talking about selling. We technically sell every day, even when we're talking about a book or a movie to a friend. But that's the like, know, and trust of business or relationships. Because if you and I, say for example, we like each other, I recommend a book, or even one of my things that I've given you. If we didn't like each other, then you're going to go, I don't want to read it. I don't want to borrow of it. But because there's the like, know, and trust, and we have that relationship, then you look at it, and vice versa. It's so important to have that communication in that like, know, and trust within yourself. But again, that comes back to your self-belief, your mindset. And I personally think that mindset and the physical health comes into play as well. It doesn't have to be much. If you're walking, if you're doing something small, as long as you're moving, as long as you're doing something for yourself on a daily or weekly basis, because again, they do it in planes. You have to take care of yourself first. Don't put the mask on anyone else before you've looked after yourself. In a relationship, you're no good to your partner if you're not taking care of yourself, because your partner's going to realize that. There's lots of different ways that you can look at these things. Physical well-being. I think it all speaks for itself. Whether whether you are in a position that you're happy with or not, there's always something more that you can do, or something that you can do. You can always find time. But I guess that all comes back to time management as well. If you don't feel like you have time, look at your time budget or your schedule and find that time. If something's important to you, make the change for the benefit of yourself, because you're no good to anyone if you're unhappy, or if you're unfit, or if you're financially unstable, or any of these things. And I think for me, it's about helping people understand that there is a way out. Whether you're in crisis or not, there is a way to change. All of these things that we've spoken about today are so important. But you need to look after yourself so that you can help other people. And it's not selfish. It's not selfish at all. I used to think it was selfish, just looking after me and blah, blah, blah. It's taken me a long time to realize all these sorts of things, but it's not. You need to take care of yourself. You need to look after who you are so that you can grow into the person that you want to be to help other people, whether it's in a relationship, business, you're an employee, or your family, anything like that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I can touch on is your mental health is a product of your physical exercise and your time spent outdoors in the environment and your social connections. Like you say, it's similar to the floor stools, but every one of them stools, probably every one of them legs has probably got 4 screws on a bracket at the top or something like that you need as well. So for your overall mental health, it's important to focus on your relationships. It's important to focus on your physical health, physical fitness. It's important to focus on your dietary intake of food and making sure you're eating good foods. And it's important to develop your social connections. We're human beings. We've got our DNA implanted as a social sort of connections, and as a society, we're sort of losing that a bit. So, and it takes effort, like you said. It takes effort to go and find social connections. It takes effort to go and do your exercise. It takes effort to be disciplined with your diet. But I feel, it's all interlinked, like you say.
It is. You're right, but that's the thing. It's too hard for some people. It's too hard. But you have to go through those hard, like eating strictly. And eating, or training, or things can be hard, yes, initially, but it gets easier, and it gets easier as time goes on. But as you said before, like, we are social creatures. We need communication. We need relationships. We need that. It sucks seeing people not have these people around them, or you need to build those connections, and that's why a lot of the older generations, when they get put in these situations, they don't have the communication. They don't have the relationships to keep them going. Because when people struggle and when people start to suffer is when they don't have anyone by their side. They don't have anyone in their corner. They don't have anyone to talk to. They don't have a community around them, whether it's their family, their friends, or just someone to sit down and eat a meal with them. I've got a great friend I've met recently. He's running a charity up north exactly for that reason. He's helping feed people in need. And what they've also done is they're creating a community of people who are just sitting down and talking while eating. And they've just started, and it's a fantastic charity that they're running. They've got all these barbecues on a Saturday. People who are either homeless or about to be in that position, or people that are struggling, come in, get some food. Obviously there's donations and sponsors through the charity, but people can come in, eat, and have a conversation and build relationships, whether you're homeless or you're just struggling. But there's that communication side to it while still feeding people in need.
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully that's helped some people with some of these issues and some of these topics that we talked on this endeavour, on our first one we've done with this cost of living crisis. So I suppose people will be asking, okay, so what's next? What do I do? And how do I, what's next? What do you say to that, Sammy?
Look, I think taking the advice in the video and having a look at where you can improve on yourself, or where, if you want to reach out to us, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the best and easiest way to reach out to myself, or Trev. I don't know if you're got any links in here or in the video, but I guess it's reaching out to, as you've got here, community engagement, building those relationships, building your budget, looking at yourself internally and externally. For us, it's about building this action plan now, to everything that we've just spoken about, getting an action plan and a flow chart and an understanding so that we can actually deliver it to everyone that's following and watching the project. And look, I'm quite keen to start implementing and monitoring the process of this project and really seeing how many people we can impact, what change in someone's life it can be, and just seeing the impact, I guess, and that's why we've called it what it is. So for us, it's really about now putting words to action and creating those action plans. Looking forward to any conversations that come out of it. I'm looking forward to chatting with you more through the weeks and getting online. So
yeah, and I think that's the key thing. Like if anyone wants to reach out to me or whatever, like I'm on LinkedIn too. That's probably the best way to get me as well. But I think you talked about your red light program before. So there are programs and coaches and different people out there, and we're here to help when we can. Obviously, give you a big plug, Sammy. Obviously, you've done a lot of work in that space and got a lot of resources there, and feel free, I suppose, to check them out on LinkedIn. You've got a lot of them published as well. But in regards to just any help, like even Lifeline, or don't be scared to reach out. But just understanding who you are and where you want to go and what you want to do, and even if you don't know that answer, exploring that conversation, having that conversation with yourself. I think
that's right. And I think it's also important to not get stuck on not speaking. I think there's a big thing out now. It's not too weak to speak, and I know it's mainly aimed at men, but it's just anyone in general. As you said earlier on in the piece today, don't be scared to talk or hold yourself back from having a conversation or reaching out if you need help. If you need help, you need help. We're taught that as kids. If you need help with something, you can't do it, try. But if you can't, go and get the help, or go and learn how to do it. We don't need to sit here and struggle. We don't need to. There's plenty of people willing to help. There's plenty of good people who are willing to give advice. So I've got financial advisors that I can help people with. I've got different mentors and coaches. I've got different industries of collaborative partners that I've got if anyone needs something specific. So do you, Trev. So anyone that wants to reach out after watching what we've done, or follow it or join in, I'm so keen to get someone with experience that wants to talk about and delve deeper into one of these topics. Just reach out if you need help, or if you want to join in and get involved in the project. Let's go.
And it's all about just having these conversations. You're very in our initial podcast, you reached out and you participated in the Who Are We podcast. That's how we first met, and you talked about your goal of meeting X amount of people per year and just reaching out, and I can see, and even now you're still doing that, walking the walk, not just talking the talk, and that's good to see. But it's always good to get new ideas and new people in on these conversations to try and see, get different perspectives and all that sort of stuff on these things, especially like you say, specialists, in financial advice, or specialists in budgeting, or specialists in mental health practices and that sort of stuff is always very good. But so anyway, I think that's we can wrap that up there, Sammy. So thank you very much for joining us today. I feel that we've covered a lot of interesting topics there, and hopefully created some value for the listeners, and like you say, anyone wants to talk more about it, feel free to reach out.
It's been a really good chat today. I think we've made some good progress, and looking forward to our next chat and what comes of it. And thanks to everyone that's been watching and following. So reach out if you need, and keep well.
No worries, Sammy. Have a good one.
You too.